All right. Hello, welcome. This is just me today. So Jane is away, but you've just got me, and we're going to be talking about New Zealand nationals versus New Zealand champs. Now, there's been a lot of rumors and there's been a lot of chat this year about the two competitions and how similar they are. So what we're going to be doing today is just look at a programming breakdown on the similarities of the two, which did better, which did not as better, not worse, but you know what I mean. So we're just going to kind of look at a couple key factors that makes competition a competition, and kind of see what one actually found the fittest, if that was the goal of both of them. I know for New Zealand nationals, it is called finding the fittest, and then with NZ champs, it is obviously a New Zealand championship. Champion must mean that they're trying to find some sort of fitness level amongst that. So that's why I'm kind of doing this breakdown, and we're going to be looking at a couple different things. So that's why I'm doing it. Why do I feel obliged to do this? I was involved in a couple different capacities at both these competitions. So I was there for both. I was competing in both. I coached at both, and then I actually ended up volunteering, helping at both competitions. So, seen a lot of different views of both of these competitions for different lenses, and kind of thought like I felt pretty easy to speak on these. But yeah, so what is finding the fittest, or what are we looking for with this programming breakdown? Is just seeing over a couple of different categories where they've or what they've done. So we're looking at things like how many workouts they did, movement patterns within their workout, time domains, loading, how heavy was the workout, stuff like that. So we've got a couple of different things that we will break down, and inside those categories is a couple of different movements or time domains, modalities, and stuff like that that we can really sink our teeth into and kind of make up our minds who did a better job this year. So yeah, how I analyzed this was the movement classifications, the time domains or energy systems, loading thresholds, and time domain brackets. So I'll go into more details when I get to each one on how I determined which workout or which movement or time domain was chosen. And that way we can get a clearer picture on it all. So New Zealand Nationals breakdown, where did it excel? So this year it was held at the Viaduct in Auckland in the Cloud. I think that was a really cool venue. As far as I'm concerned, I can't remember anyone that's been there before. It was actually really cool, really nice weekend. It was very intimate. It was very tight at certain points, but that was really good. The area was used well. We had a really nice flow. So if you walked into the venue, you had to go through Venue Village, which is actually really cool. Then as you get on, you get to the competition floor, and then the warm-up area at the back, and then the athlete hangout zone was at the back. So the warm-up area and the athlete hangout area was actually really close together, which is really nice. The location was really cool. So having a whole lot of crossers skirting through Auckland to get to the venue was actually pretty sick to see. And then the weather was wicked. I mean, apart from Sunday, but we're all inside, so that's okay. Where did it lack? And I've been trying to think about this for quite a bit. I think maybe what it possibly lacked on was just, again, volunteers and the number that they had. I know that there was a lot of sign up, but none of them just kind of showed up on the day, which is a bit sad to see. So yeah, just volunteers. And it's nothing that the competition didn't do. It was just what happened. And then what kind of athlete was rewarded? We'll get to that after the program breakdown. You'll see. On to champs. Where did it excel? I think, and as I said this before, the marketing was really well done. The consistency of the marketing as well was actually really nice and fluid and easy to read. Where did it lack? I think a big one for NZ champs where it lacked was just the heat of the venue. It was pretty hot inside that velodrome, and I think it kind of took away from the competition a little bit, with people being more exhausted from the heat or whatever. And then even spectating was hard to do. And then what can athlete rewarded again? We'll go over that with program breakdown. So we're going to go over the head-to-head comparisons within little breakdown. So first one is just a little easy one to kind of show us the competitions. So we've got Nats, champs, both this year. NZ Nats had 9 total events, which is including event 0, and then the final where NZ champs had 7 events total. 0 rest days in between. Total competition days was 3 for Nats, 2 for champs. Both had an online qualifier, both for live in person. down here we have a score. So I'm going to score each one on all of our 4 different brackets there on who I think did a better job with the data that I've taken. Okay, so let's crack into it. We're going to go over movement breakdown first. So I've broken this down into weightlifting, gymnastics, and monostructural movements. So this is kind of our big three within CrossFit on how we break up our movements. Weightlifting, this is moving any external load with your body. This can look like barbell, kettlebells, dumbbells, sandbags, anything like that. So that's what we class as weightlifting. Gymnastics is moving our body through space. So gymnastics we class as anything like a pull-up, push-up, air squat, lunge, with just our body weight. Monostructural is cardio elements, so running, swimming, biking, skipping, rowing, skiing, biking. I think I said biking, but anything that we're just moving our bodies in a cyclical pattern. So going over New Zealand Nationals, event 0 is the mountain bike, obviously a monostructural movement, that was it. So point 1 there. Event 1 was squat snatch and ring muscle ups. So 1-1. Event 2 was a row, so just the monostructural, so another 1. Event 3, we had our chipper, so weightlifting movements was our deadlift and our dumbbell. Gymnastics movements was our legless rope climbs and our box jump overs, and then the monostructural was our double unders. So big workout there. Event number 4 was the lunge run. So it was weightlifting with the lunge because it was a weighted implement. I know before I said lunging is gymnastics, but it's just a body weight. So we're moving external load, weightlifting, and then running, obviously monostructural. Event 5 was the D-ball over the yoke, weightlifting, so we're moving an object. Event 6 was Fran or back-to-back Fran, so thrusters with weightlifting and gymnastics with the pull-ups. Event 7, toe to bar and handstand walk. And then event 8 was the snatches and burpees. So you can see our little total breakdown in the bottom there is 7-7-4. So 7 weightlifting, 7 gymnastics, 4 for monostructural. So we have a nice balance between weightlifting and gymnastics there. And monostructural is always going to lag a little bit behind just because we are limited with movements with monostructural. We think running, biking, rowing, skiing, swimming, and double unders. There's only 6 total, so using 4 out of 6 total is pretty good. Moving on to NZ champs. So what we've got in event 1 was 1 weightlifting movement with the sandbag squat, 3 gymnastics with 3 different pulling variations, and 1 monostructural with the row. Then we move into event 2, which was mono, which is the 2-mile time trial. Event 3 was the lift, or the back-to-back lift, so the clean, the front squat, the jerk. Well, some order of those 3 movements. Event 4 was 1, 1, and 1. Can't remember what event 4 was. Event 5, 1 and 2. Event 6 was 1 and 1, and then event 7 was 3 and 1, which brings our totals to 9, a 7, and a 5. So they had more monostructural, using more elements. I think they had a bike where nationals didn't, but we do see that imbalance in weightlifting gymnastics. So already we're favoring a stronger person with more weightlifting implements, which is fine. And most of it does come from event 3, which was 1 event of weightlifting with 3 different movements. Good amount of gymnastics. I would have loved to have seen this being balanced a lot more. It is possible, especially over 7 events. I would have thought that maybe there'd be more balance. I mean, even if we class this as 1, it'd still be 6, 7. So pretty close. Not horrible, but I will give balance to NZ Nationals in this one. So we're just going to go 1 up for Nationals. So that was the kind of breakdown of our movement domains. So weightlifting, gymnastics, and monostructural. Time domains. So moving on, we're going to go into breaking this down into sub 5-minute time category, 5:15, which is kind of normal classic CrossFit, and then 15-minute plus time domain. So the way I've chosen these time domains was looking at the top 10 finishing times. And then that's kind of where I determined where I would put this. So I didn't really look at the time caps for workouts. I more looked at top 10 finishing times, averaged it out, and where the average kind of sat is where I put the time domain for that event, as we are looking at our different energy systems as well. So event 0, we had majority of our top 10 finishing at 15 plus minutes. So the mountain bike, event 1, majority again finishing between that 5 and 15. There was quite a few people that didn't finish this workout, but I think the time cap was still lower than 15 minutes. And some people were finishing this, well, most people were finishing this workout as well. Events 2, the row, most everybody finished this, and time cap was 5 minutes, so definitely a sub 5 minute workout. Event 3 was again another 5 to 15 minutes. Event 4, 5 to 15. Event 5, which was the 90-second effort D-wall over the yoke. And then, as you can see, the remaining workouts are all in that kind of 5 to 15 minutes, and that's kind of where the average time sat. So if we look at this, we've got 2, 6, and 1. So it is very heavily dominant within that 5 to 15 minute time domain. And even if I brought that bottom kind of average time up, so say if it was like 8 to 15 minutes, we'll still have the majority of the workouts in here, maybe one more here. And then obviously that bike is the only one over there. So not bad, but would have liked to have seen maybe another longer aerobic test, just so we do have a little bit more balance. So maybe a 2, a 5, and a 2 would have been really cool to see. That's probably the only thing I can say about Nationals time domains. Champs time domains, what we can see, and again, this has been taken off average finishing times from the top 10, not time caps. So we've got all bar 1 is a 5 to 15 minute workout, with the 5 or sub 5 minute workout being the lift. So again, same as Nationals, we really would have liked to have seen a couple more in that longer time domain. I know the run was probably the longest one, and that was on the verge, but we did have most people finishing that workout, and some didn't. So it kind of depends on the whole field, but I was looking at the top 10 on both sides. So yeah, same thing, same sort of thing. Well, same thing. I would have loved to have seen a lot more, a couple more in that plus 15, maybe with another sub 5, just kind of really balance out that test to see who we can find the fittest. So honestly, I think I'm going to give this one to Nationals as well, as it does have one in all 3, where Champs doesn't. So one more to Nationals. So moving on to our next one, which is going to be movement patterns. So with this, I broke it down into a few different categories. So we've got squat, we've got hinge, push, pull, carry, travel, and bound/jump. So squatting, obviously, is a squat. A hinge is something like a deadlift or a toe to bar where the body is bending in half. Push, this can be any form of pushing. So pushing from the chest, pushing overhead, or holding a press overhead like a handstand walk. Pulling, when you're pulling any object or yourself towards an object. Carry, where you're carrying a load, or lunging with a load. Travel, so this is all of our kind of cardio movements, the running, the biking, the rowing, the skiing, bounding, and jumping. So double unders, jumping on a box, jumping off a box, stuff like that. So squatting, we had 2 squats, one with the squat snatch, one thruster on NZ Nationals. Hinging, we had things like toe to bar, we had deadlifts, I classed the snatch and the last, no, I didn't, I put it as a pull. Burpees. Sorry. Burpees, and then toe to bar and the D-ball. Yeah, D-ball was a hinge movement, I considered. Push, event 3, we had, what do we have in event 3 that was a push? The dumbbell shoulder overhead, of course. And then handstand walking. Pulling, we had the ring muscle I classed as majority of a pull movement, even though it is kind of a push-pull. I classed it as more of as a pull. Event 3, the pull was deadlift. That was more of a hinge. I'll come back to that. There was a pull. Oh, rope climbs, of course. Duh. Event 6 and then event 8. So event 6 was Fran, obviously pull-ups, and then event 8. I class a snatch as a pull. I know it is a hinge as well, but I think there's a lot more pulling involved than it was hinge. Both. Carry, there was the lunge. So lunge with the sandbag. Travel, obviously biking. Event 2 was rowing, and then event 4 was running. And then bounding and jumping, we had box jumps and double unders in that chipper. So that's kind of how I've broken up the New Zealand Nationals events, and I've kept the kind of same flow and ruling with my movements into champs. So you can see here 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2. So the outliers obviously are the 1 and the 4 and 4. Um, Not a bad thing. It is pretty tight and back. I mean, if we take away the two bottom and top, we're left with the three and the two. So it's not bad. It's pretty balanced in terms of taking one of everything, but also making sure not favoring too much of one thing. Um, yeah. NZ champs. We've got squatting three, we've got hinging three, pushing three, pull six, so quite a lot of pulling. Carrying is one for travel, so machines or running, swimming, and then one bounding or jumping. So obviously what sticks out first is the pulling. There's a lot more pulling involved than any other movement within the competition. Um, I think in the first workout, there's three variations of pull with your pull ups, chest bars, muscle ups. So that kind of gives it a quick start from there. And as you can see throughout the competition, there's still quite a bit of pulling. And then also having two events that were just one or two, sorry, single movement patterns. Not bad in terms of balance. Obviously, we have our first three movements, all three, and then we have a 1-1, a 6, and a 4. So the only thing that really sticks out to me is the pulling. There is a lot of pulling in terms of the overall number. I think I did the average out. It was a 2.5 average here and then a 3 average here. So I think I'm actually going to give the balance of movement patterns to champs. Um, yeah. Right. Loading. So this is weight loading. So obviously there's a few events that didn't have weights at all. So I've read them out so we can see. But straight off the bat, we can see New Zealand Nationals has three events that didn't have any loading at all in terms of weight. So event one was heavy, which was essentially to get heavy. So it started off, no, I wouldn't even say it started, maybe it started moderate for some people, but I think by the end in the field that we're testing, it was heavy. Event three was moderate. So we think about that dumbbell. I think at that level and the volume that they're doing, it was actually quite moderate. Knowing that we've done heavy dumbbells in the competition before with the dumbbell shot overhead and the deadlifts, I think were moderate. Event four, I've classed as heavy for the volume that they did. So it was the sandbag lunge for 200 meters. I think that was quite heavy. I mean, lunging for any distance is quite hard, but I think lunging for 200 meters with a 35 kilo sandbag, which had no handles, is just one of the innards of the worm. I think I would class that as heavy. Event five was moderate. Event five was the deep ball. So yeah, I think for the field again that was testing within the 90-second window, it was a moderate weight. I think anything above what they were testing would have been a lot heavier. But yeah, I class this as moderate. Event six was light, it was a Fran, and then event eight also light with that snatch weight, which was essentially Randy. NZ champs. Oh, sorry. So total 2-2-2. That's balanced as it can come. NZ champs start off with a heavy sandbag for what we're doing. So I think, in my opinion, it was heavy for the volume that it was. Event three, it was obviously a max lift, so it was heavy. Event four was light, which was the overhead walking lunge, which I think if you got that barbell in the right position, it was light. Event five was heavy with that deadlift. So I think it was 120 for the guys. Again, I class that as heavy. I think moderate weight would have been 100, which is what I gave nationals. And then last event was moderate with the 60 kilo barbell. So I'm going to give this one to nationals. So 3, 1, 2 nationals is what it comes out to. So that was kind of how I normally break down competitions. I look at a few of these things that we kind of see throughout class programming, competition programming, open programming, kind of things that are common themes and that we can work around with programming to kind of paint a clearer picture in terms of how we assess a fitness test and if it is a viable test. So in my opinion, I think they both found what they were looking for. But if we are to look at them in a head-to-head battle competition comparison, I think that nationals did a better job in terms of finding the fittest. Not to say that the people at Jamps weren't fit. It's just in terms of the test, nationals did a better job finding what they were looking for. Anyway, team, that has been my little chat about both these things, because I know there has been a lot of talk in the community in and around both of these competitions on what is better. They both seem similar. And yeah, I mean, we're in a very small country and a very small sport. So anytime something like this happens, we kind of draw comparisons, which is, I think, pretty cool. And we're pretty lucky to have two events running in the year that offer the athletes opportunities to be able to compete alongside each other and create that. So, have any questions? Let me know. Have any thoughts, comments? Chuck them down below. But other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Whether it's on Spotify, if you watch on YouTube and you can see the whole breakdown. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy.